Do I really believe that Pakistan can replace American bases in the Middle East? Yes, I absolutely do. If you've been watching the news, you know that Iran has made 13 American bases in the Middle East inoperational. Right now, Pakistan is the lead mediator between the US and Iran trying to stop this pointless war. Welcome to Realpolitik with Zedi, where the world's a Hobbesian jungle and nation states fight to stay alive, just like Iran is fighting to stay alive. Pax Americana is coming to an end, and all that Donald Trump is doing is hastening the process. No matter when this war ends, America's military footprint in the Middle East will shrink. Now, the question is, who replaces the Americans in the Middle East? And before we go into it, we have to ask, why is America in the Middle East to begin with? I made a video on this which you can watch, but to explain it briefly, America's presence in the Middle East expanded after the Arab-Israeli War of 1973, after which a system of petrodollars was created. Oil in exchange for security. That was the implicit agreement. American bases expanded further in the Middle East after the Gulf War of 1991. And to this day, there are thousands upon thousands of American soldiers deployed in the Middle East. But why do these Arab monarchies need American protection? Who are they scared of? The answer is simple. One is or used to be Israel. Two, after the 1979 revolution, is Iran. And recently, the Houthis in Yemen have also become an enemy. They're also kind of scared of Hezbollah and Hamas to an extent. But these Arab sheikdoms, they're sitting on trillions upon trillions of dollars of oil and gas. Why can't they build their own militaries to provide protection to themselves? You know why? Because they've seen what has happened in Muslim majority countries like Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan, where strong, professional, and independent armies have literally taken over the government. They don't want this to happen to themselves. They don't want to lose power. So they need protection and they can't protect themselves. Who will replace the Americans then? Let's explore this. Would it be the UK or the EU? They may not be at par with the Americans when it comes to technology, but they can provide sufficient protection to these Middle Eastern sheikdoms. But remember what happened back in June last year when Israel attacked mediators in Qatar? Do you think in the future the UK or the EU would be able to stop Israel from doing such a thing? I don't think so. What about Russia or China? They're great powers after all. Can they not protect these Gulf sheikdoms? Sure, they can, but then these Arab states would antagonize the entire Western world, and they don't want that to happen. What about Egypt? Well, Egypt is not strong enough militarily. It has taken a beating twice from Israel. Turkey has very modern and capable armed forces, but Turkey is not a nuclear power. That leaves only one Muslim majority nation, which is also a nuclear power, and that is Pakistan. After Operation Sindoor in May 2025, where Pakistan beat India militarily and showed the world and especially the Gulf kingdoms its military prowess and capability. These Arab kingdoms have been after Pakistan, pleasing Pakistan, trying to get Pakistan to protect them in the long run. It's not for no reason that Saudi Arabia signed the Strategic Mutual Defence Pact with Pakistan, and Qatar has been feting Pakistan's Prime Minister for the last couple of months. They're doing this because they know that Pakistan's military is battle-hardened. It knows how to fight both conventional and non-conventional wars. It is a declared nuclear power, and it also has soft power. because it enjoys the trust and confidence of both the Gulf kingdoms and Iran. In fact, right now, Pakistan is the only country that Iran really trusts, because Pakistan expressed sympathy with Iran during its hour of need. And despite being close with Tehran right now, Islamabad has made sure that the US trusts Pakistan as well. In fact, Pakistan's CDF is on speed dial with Donald Trump, and Pakistan finds itself again in a unique position where it's also ironclad brothers with China. And that's the reason Pakistan is playing this role of mediating the conflict between Iran and the US, trying to put it to an end. And what I'm advocating for here is that not only should Pakistan try to put this war to an end, no matter how difficult the process may be, but it should take a more prominent role in the Middle East, because it can. Now, this might seem a laughable proposition to many people, and rightfully so, because Pakistan is an economically marginalized country. Just a couple of years ago, Pakistan was being touted as a failed state. Pakistan is a debt-ridden country which has to depend on the IMF for its very survival. But sometimes in history, opportunities arise, and geopolitics rewards smaller or less economically powerful countries with an outsized geostrategic role because of location and leverage. Pakistan is at the crossroads of Asia, bordering China to the east, India to the south, Afghanistan and the Central Asian republics to the north, Iran to the west, and also to the west is the Arabian Sea, which opens up to the Red Sea and opens up to the Strait of Hormuz as well, to the Gulf Sea. Now, naysayers would say that how can Pakistan even afford economically to protect the Middle East? Well, it doesn't need to spend any of its own money. Why should it? The Gulf states have been paying for American military protection for the last few decades. And guess what they got in return? Their bases became a liability for the Gulf states. And instead of protecting the Gulf states, their very bases became the reason for Iranian intrusion into Gulf states, Iranian attack on Gulf states. So if they can spend billions of dollars on American technology and on American personnel, why can't they pay 1/10 of that to Pakistan for real protection? Because Iran would never attack Pakistani bases. And I do mean never. Now there's another problem. Pakistan is already overstretched, isn't it? It has to make sure it has a certain number of divisions and Air Force squadrons on its eastern border with India, and at the same time, it is now fighting a war inside Afghanistan. It is fighting insurgencies in KP and in Balochistan. So it's embattled on multiple fronts. How can it afford to spend or deploy some of its resources in the Middle East? Again, I'm no military expert, but common sense dictates that if Arab states are paying for it, then it wouldn't be that hard. It will take a couple of years probably, but Pakistan can raise new divisions and new squadrons to send to the Middle East. Can raise new squadrons and raise new divisions for that. Then there's another potential problem with this plan, with this idea of mine, and that is Pakistan doesn't have cutting-edge technology. I mean, it's nowhere near a peer competitor of America. It doesn't have the F-35 stealth fighters. It doesn't have Patriots and the THAAD missile defense systems. It doesn't have AWACS airborne radar systems. It doesn't have advanced electronic warfare capabilities. But you know who's a peer competitor of America right now? And that is China. China will send a couple of J-35s to Pakistan very shortly. So Pakistan can rely on China for advanced technology, including drones, anti-missile systems, aircraft carriers, but it can depend on China for warplanes, like it has been for the last couple of years. So China would fill this gap. But why would China let Pakistan fill this gap? Why wouldn't China try to intercede in the Middle East directly? Because China throughout history has looked at itself as the Middle Kingdom, as literally the center of its own world. It doesn't like to politically or militarily interfere in other countries. It has a philosophy of non-interference. And I don't see this changing anytime soon. Yes, they have the Belt Road Initiative, but that is for the sake of their economy. That is for the sake of projecting their economic power. But last 2,000-3,000 years, China has never asserted itself militarily outside its own mainland and outside its own seas. And I don't think it's going to. And who best to fill the vacuum after the Americans depart than China's ironclad brother, which is Pakistan, because they say the friendship between China and Pakistan is higher than the Himalayas and deeper than the seas, or something to that effect. So China would be very happy to make sure that Pakistan is a stabilizing force in the Middle East and is able to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz is open and the Red Sea passageway is not affected either, because that's the one thing China cares about, making sure that trade flows smoothly. It depends on the Red Sea passageway and then Suez Canal for a large chunk of its trade, and depends on the Strait of Hormuz for 50% of its oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So it would actually welcome such a move from Pakistan, and it would not have a problem providing Pakistan with the electronic and military infrastructure to project power in the Middle East. So very simple proposition, right? Arab money, Chinese technology, and Pakistani footprints in the Middle East. Would America let it happen? Of course it would. If anything, America would be happy to have a face saving where it's able to withdraw from the Middle East in a very respectable manner. No matter who wins the next elections, Democrats or the Republicans, but after Trump, America would slowly and steadily withdraw from the Middle East, because American public now has an anathema to foreign interventions. Foreign interventions call for military presence, and military presence means body bags, means casualties, and American people have no stomach for military casualties. They have no desire now to project power outside the North American hemisphere. So if America is withdrawing from the Middle East, it would want that to happen very smoothly, and it would have no problems outsourcing a large majority of its operations to Pakistan. It would in fact love to see this happen. The only country which would probably have a problem with this would be Israel, but that is a topic for another video. And if you do want to see a video like that, do like this video. It helps with the algorithm, and do subscribe for more geopolitical hot takes. Until next time, take care.